Yeah, good day. Welcome to the English class. I welcome you once again into this class as we'll be looking at a series of several concepts in this part. Now, in our past classes, we've discussed so many things that are grammar inclined, and a bit of a consideration in this series will be on sounds as it regards pronunciation, and then a connection to this thing with meanings. Now, basically, in English grammar, we believe that words are important. And as much as these words are important, we know that words are meant to be spelled, to be pronounced, and if identified, should be given meaning. So this you have with you is just an overview of what we'll be looking at in this series. We'll be looking at heterographs, that is different spelling and meaning. We'll be looking at heteronyms, different sound and meaning. We'll be looking at homophones, same pronunciation, different meaning. We'll be looking at homographs, same spelling, different meaning. I'll be looking at synonym. And to add, we'll also be looking at antonym. So, but basically, I will start with the simplest of them all, and that is the homophone. Homophones. Now, before I go into the definition, I want us to look at one word that is so important for us. Let's say that it will be familiar. Phone. Yeah, you could think about, okay, a mobile phone, a hand phone, or anything that has to do with maybe anything that can give a sound, and that is it. Now, anytime you hear the word phone in the English language, it has to do with sounds. That is why in the English language, you have something that we'll call phonology, a study of phones, a study of sounds. Now, when we're talking about homophones, it means we are talking about something that has to do with sounds, how sounds are used in the English language, in particular about an aspect or about a topic. So what is homophone, or what are homophones? Now, homophones are two or more words that share same pronunciation. Now, I want you to pay attention to that. Pronunciation has to do with producing sounds from our mouth or sometimes from our nose, and it has to do with sounds. Now, words are pronounced when you give out the sound that the word is made of, and words are spelled when you count out the letters that the words are made of. So anytime you hear the word pronunciation, it means you have to give sounds and not to identify letters. For instance, the word here and here. Now we see that they have different spellings. If I'm asked to spell the word here, the first one I will say I have H-E-A-L, and the second one is H-E-L-E. That is the spelling of the words. But if I'm asked to pronounce them, if they have different pronunciation, I pronounce them according to how they are meant to be pronounced in the English language. But for our focus today, we are looking at homophone, that is two different words that have the same pronunciation. They have different spellings. They have different spellings or different meanings, but they have the same pronunciation. Now, the major reason for putting this is that sometimes when you are reading a question in your examination, a proper understanding of what that word means and how it is pronounced may actually give you an understanding toward the sentence. If the sentence is erroneous, from the way the words are put in there or words that are used in the sentence, you are able to say if the sentence is correct or the sentence is not grammatically correct. So as we have in the example we are given, so homophones are words with same pronunciation but different spelling or meanings. And in some cases, homophones may have the same spelling, but one thing is that they will have the same pronunciation but have different meanings. So pay attention to that. So we can say, simply put, homophones are same sounds, different spellings, or different meanings. So moving up from there, what are the types of homophones that we have? The first one, pseudo-homophone. Now, though this is not really working in the new age or the modern English, but there's something we call the pseudo-homophone. Now, when you hear the word pseudo-homophone, it has to do with false. Now, there are sometimes that will make non-words. Now, when we say non-words in the English language, means words that are not recognized or words that are not reckoned with in the lexicon, that is the dictionary. But sometimes in a way to create reading, maybe you're writing a poem or you're trying to work on the reading in your writing, or you're trying to bring about sound conjugations. You could bring out some things to look alike. You could bring out some sounds to form a structure. Now, pseudo-homophone is homophone that is phonetically identical. In almost all cases, they are not real words. Now, what they are trying to say is this. Now, you can have a real word that you can find in the lexicon, that you can find in the dictionary, and it has a meaning. You can now have a word that you can just make up yourself, just to sound like the word that you have made or the word that you have in your dictionary. Now, for instance, I can put up the word boo, that is to make fun of someone, as some football spectators would do to any player that they don't like. And then I could come up and write the word B-U-U, boo, in a way to form a reading with the word I've used earlier. Now, the second word is a non-word, it's not found in the dictionary. But basically, in a way to create something that sounds like the first one, I have created a pseudo-homophone, a false homophone, a false word that is sounding alike the first one. And like the examples that we have here, we can have the word blue and a non-word blue. I get in it? And we can have the word groan, which means to cry in pain. And an obsolete, we're told about an obsolete word groan, that is word that is no longer in existence. We can have such like that. So pseudo-homophone means that there is a word that you can find in your dictionary, and there is one that you are making up, or one that is no longer in existence. The second one is what we call near homophone. A near homophone is a word which is pronounced almost the same as another word, but has a different meaning and slightly different spelling. So just as we have defined homophone, this is an example of what we could say. Now, words may be pronounced the same way, but that does not mean that they must have the same spelling. So near homophone will tell us that there are words that are pronounced the same way, but they have different spelling and they have different meaning. Or some of them will have slight different spelling and obviously they have different meaning. Now, unlike full homophones, they share the same pronunciation. For near homophones, they may have one or two letters different from how they are spelled. Not to waste our time, move to examples of near homophones. We have accept and accept. Accept and accept. Now, if you look at the ending rhymes, the ending sound, they sound alike, but the beginning sound differs. That is what we call near homophone. We have full homophone, where we have words that are pronounced the same way, but they have different meaning and they are spelled differently. And just like near homophones, we have just one letter or two different. So like we have accept and accept. We can have proceed and precede. Proceed and precede. One and one. One and one. If you look at it, you can see that in a way or two, they sound almost alike, nearly alike, but they don't mean the same thing. So if you don't pay attention to how they are pronounced sometimes, maybe in a continuous speech, it is possible you mistaking them for each other. So you have to pay attention to it such that when these words are used in sentences, you can decide, okay, this word is supposed to be for this grammatical construction, and this word is supposed to be for this grammatical construction. Sometimes when you are giving questions on the aspect of words that best complete, or phrases that best complete, or clauses that best complete, it is possible that sometimes they may be playing on meanings. Sometimes they may be playing on near homophones. Sometimes they may be playing on full homophones, just for them to know if you know the meaning of these words and how they are pronounced or how they are spelled. So when you come across such things, you will know what to pick and how to use them in your grammatical constructions or in your sentences. So when you talk about near homophones, these are some of the examples that you come across and you put them to use. Away from that, examples of homophones generally. Though in this class, I have been able to pick one or two, I think about 5 examples that I will be explaining. And then after that, I have a list of other ones that I will give to us as assignment so that we can know how they are used by looking at their meanings. So examples of homophones. Now, the first one is ale versus ale. You will see that in the transcription, they are transcribed the same way. Ale, ale, ale. The first one has a different spelling from the second one. Though they are pronounced the same way they are pronounced alike, but they mean different things. So it's not somebody that is sick. The spelling you use is A-I-L. Is ailing. So you can say is ale. So, but when you're talking about the second one, ale is a general name for beer made with a top of fermenting yeast. So when another name for beer is ale. So if you want to use each of these in grammatical constructions and they are pronounced alike, you will be able to select and use accordingly with the sentence you plan or you have in mind to use. So the major aim of this is just to make sure that you use words according to meanings that you have, or you use them to prove contextuality in your writing, or to answer questions that refer to contextuality in your examination. So I want you to pay attention to that. So the second one is oral versus oral. They are pronounced alike, just as we said. But the first one is spelled A-U-R-A-L. A-U-R-A-L. And this pertains to hearing with the air. It pertains to hearing with the air, or anything that has to do with your hair. So we can say that anything that, okay, fine, it has a good oral perception. That is, the person can pick the sounds or pick that thing with the air properly. But the second one, oral, it involves the mouth. Anything that concerns the mouth, anything that goes through the mouth region, anything that has to do with mouth processes, we call it oral. Spelled O-R-A-L, O-R-A-L. Now, if you listen, if somebody has been using this interchangeably in sentences, and you don't know the meaning in the sentences, it is possible you get them wrong. So this concerns you knowing the meaning of the words and how they are used in sentences, so that the proof of contextuality can be affirmed in your sentences. So oral versus oral, one pertains to hearing, the other one pertains to the mouth. So pay attention to that. The third one, bait versus bait. Bait versus bait. Now the first one is anything that serves as an enticement. For instance, if you're going to the stream or you're going to the river to catch a fish, use a bait. There's something you put on your hook so that the fish can see it, and then it lures it to it, and from there you can catch the fish. So that is bait. Or basically, when you use something to entice someone, to bring the person closer so that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, that is bait. Now, and it is spelled B-A-I-T, bait. The second one means to soak something in a special solution to soften or remove chemical used in previous treatments. Now, so it means if you put something in a chemical solution so as to soften it or to reverse the chemical application on it, what you have done to that thing is that you have baited it. So now, both of these words, they sound alike, but they mean different things. So if, for instance, you have mistaken the second bait for the first one, you realize that contextually, your sentence will go off point. It will go off board. So basically, when you're using these words or when they are pronounced to you, you must be able to know which word is used, or when we are given questions that requires you know which word to put, you'll be able to affirm or actualize, okay, since this sentence is going this way, this best word fits in it. Since this sentence is going this way, this best word fits in it. And from there, you go off the problems of knowing which word to go or get confused in a cognitive. So the first one is being versus being. Being versus being. The first one is any various edible seed of plants of the family Leguminosae used for food, not just like our normal beans. When you say rice and beans. However, that word means more than just the rice and beans. However, it is from a leguminous family. Now, there are several beans. Some will call them peas. A cowpea seedling is a bean. So that is an example. The second being is a past participle for form of the verb to be. So when you have the verb to be, is, are, where, you can have being in the progressive form spelled B-E-I-N-G, and you can have being in the perfective form or the past participle B-E-E-N. So by the time you have this in use, and then the second one is being used, or you have been given a sentence that requires to use the second one, you don't mistake it for the first one. If you are given a question that is agriculture inclined, you don't go picking the second one for it, because obviously the first one will be talking about food, and it can be found in an agricultural register. The second one will be found in a grammatical register, or let's say verb register. So when you meet with this, you know how to use them contextually. So in your examination, there are some questions that will be based on contextuality. So homophone is a way to get out of some of these confusions. And I want you to pay attention to them. So we may take them out, they are very simple, they are easy to come by, but there are some of them that when you meet them, they are very tough, especially in your UTME or in WASSCE. So you need to pay attention to them and know how to use them. The last one that we'll be discussing before we go to other examples are berry versus berry. Berry versus berry. Now, the first one is any numerous small and pulpy edible fruits used as desserts in making jams and jelly and preserves. Now, berry, you can say raspberry, strawberry, different blueberry, blackberry, different type of berries. So by the time you talk about these, there's a way you use them. So you can berry. Now, the second one is to place something in a grave or tomb. To place something in a grave or tomb. Now, so when you say something is dead or someone is dead, when that person is placed in a grave or tomb, the person has been buried. So these, they have different meanings, but they are pronounced the same way. Berry versus berry. So I will not be talking about hiding something from sight, and then I use the first berry. And I will not want to talk about fruits that are edible or things, fruits that jams are made of, and then I go ahead to use the second berry. No. So I want you to pay attention to that and make sure that in your proof for contextuality in your examination, you use these things. So not to waste our time, let's go to other examples that we have. We have countless examples, but these are just the ones that I have close to me, and I want us to discuss them, maybe about one or two of them, and then that'll be all for today. So the first one is hi versus hi. Hi, the first one is a form of greeting when you're trying to wave to someone, and hi when something is the opposite of something that is low or something that is far from reach. Hi. Hole, when you bore something, you bore a circular structure in something that is maybe elongated, or something that can cause a circular structure in something. While hole, the second hole is what means entirety of something, a complete state, all. Another one that we have there is hour, as in when you have the hour of time. The hour of time. So we can say 60 seconds make a minute and 60 minutes make an hour. That's the first one. The second one is a possessive pronoun. A possessive pronoun. So look at the spelling and don't mistake in there. Another one is I, when you're using the first person personal singular pronoun. The first person personal singular pronoun, I. And the other one is I, an organ in your body that you use for sight, I. So another one is idle, 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 when you're not doing anything, when something is late, not in any activity or any form of activity. And the second one, idle, is you have it maybe something that is well respected or held with high esteem. In the African setting, they may say that they have idols that they worship. So if you look at them, some of them are near homophones, some of them are full homophones. So I've just carefully picked these examples through so that we can know that everything that has been explained in this class have examples that we can cite. So the next one is knead. Knead means to beat dough into finesse, into a fine state that can either be baked or fried. And then the second one is knead, when you are when you are lacking something. When you are lacking something, that is when you use the second one. The first one, both of them are verbs. Both of them are verbs, but they are used for different things. They mean different things. Another one is kneel. Kneel, that is the past tense of know, the verb know. And the second kneel is an adjective, the opposite of old. Another example that you have there is knight, a soldier decorated by the King of England, maybe to fight a war, or maybe as a sign of honor for someone who has fought a war with the king and has won several battles. So you can have somebody as a knight. You can have a knight of valor, a knight of comedy, so several things. So, but someone who has been given the honor after achieving several feats for the king, especially in England, we call them knights. And the second knight is the wee hours of the day, after your noon, or let's say after your evening, you call the night. Or when you have darkness, let's put it that way. When you have darkness, you can generally put it as night. So another one is knot. When you try to put a rope, anything that looks like a rope, and you try to bring it or wound it together to form a particular structure, or you use it in a way to form something that can be tightened, knot. And the second one is a negative marker, not to do something. So another one is know, just as we have it, know, a verb know, to come into knowledge of something. And the other one is know, a negative marker, just as I said. So we have several other examples. We have peace, not to be in war, and peace, a fragment of something. So we have red, an adjective, red, something that looks blood-like in color, and red, the past tense of read. We have soul, something that has to do with singular things. Soul, singular things. And the other one, soul, something that has to do with the tripartite existence of man, when they say the body, the spirit, and the soul. So you can have that. You can have steal, the first one to take something that does not belong to you unannounced, and the second one is a form of the iron family, steal. We have two. The first two is an adverb of emphasis, and the second one is numeral, two. We have one, to win, the past tense of win, maybe to win a battle, and the other one is numeral, one. So these and other examples are those ones that we can put to use while we are writing or when we have questions that requires. So put your mind to them. What I will give as an assignment is that for these words that I've displayed, you can look up their meanings. By the time you look up their meanings, you see that you can use them in several ways. So please pay attention to them. Use them in your conversations. such that the issue of contextuality can be proven. Because basically, one of the major things that you want to face in your exam is how you use word contextually. For those that will be writing WAEC, there's a part in your WAEC that they will tell you that there is a word that can be used to replace another word. Now, before you can use a word synonymous, you have to take the context word. Now, if you don't know what that word means and you cannot spell it rightly, it means you have a problem with the word. And basically, sometimes in UTME examinations, they use some of these things to test if we can spell, if we can pronounce very well, or we know how to use words contextually. So those are the things that we'll pay attention to. We use them rightly. We started from the topic homophones, and then we had two or more words that have the same pronunciation, but different spelling or different meanings. And then we said there are types of homophones. You have pseudo-homophones, where you have one word that is a word and another word that has that is a non-word, but identically pronounced like the other word. Then we have a near homophone. A near homophone are words that have different meaning, though pronounced the same way, different meaning and slightly spelled differently. And then I gave examples of such, and then I gave some general examples of homophones, where we talked about ale and ale, where one means to be unwell and the other one means another name for beer. And we talked about oral, the first one having a perception from the air, and the second one having to do with the mouth. And then we talk about bait, one having a meaning something that can entice or can lure, and the second one meaning to soak something in a chemical, in a solution, either to remove the chemicals or to soften it. And then we'll talk about bean and bean. We talked about the first one as a seedling, that is from the legume family, and then the second one as the past participle of the verb to be. And the fifth one that I discussed was berry and berry. The first one as a fruit used for desserts or to make jams and jellies. And the second one is to keep something offside or to place in a grave or tomb. And then I gave us several examples, and then we talked about several ones that we can have, like lesson and lesson, lesson to reduce, lesson when you give a class or you say something. Made, when you make something, when you bring something into life, when you try to construct something. And made, someone that is acting as an assistant in a home or maybe as a nanny. Male, we have a male is a letter that is sent, male, a masculine representation of a gender. So we have them and on like that. So all I need you to do is to put this into use, and you pay attention to them as they are used in sentences, basically to affirm contextuality in the use of the English language. Thank you for your time today. So before I go, is there anybody with any questions so that I can answer the question in the little time that we have with us? Any question from anybody? So in the absence of question, please, as I've always said in my classes, anything in your thoughts, please put them to use. It is when you use them continuously that you get better in them. And before you know it, you speak English like a native speaker. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.